Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, Give Me That Charger. After that, my HOA complaint broke up an entitled mom's marriage. And after that, students pranked me, I had the last laugh. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen gets her minivan repoed. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And become a channel member today and I'll give you a special shout out in our next video. Give me that charger. So I have an orange and black portable charger that I've had for 4 years now, and that thing has saved my life quite a few times. It has 4 USB ports and a high-powered light, so it's pretty great. The thing about mine, however, is that my port closest to the light doesn't work. I don't know why, overuse I think, so I use the other ones. Enter Entitled Mom and Entitled Kid. I'd seen them around a bit, but had never talked to them, which is unusual as I live in quite a small community. But now I know a lot about them. For context, this was in a local cafe I frequent on the weekends. A family-owned, everyone is welcome kind of deal. Well, entitled parent and entitled kid enter and immediately spot me sitting down, sipping my tea. Yes, I'm Scottish. We drink a lot of tea. And charging my phone with the charger. They almost run at me, and they say, in the worst Ned or idiotic accent imaginable, entitled mom, "Excuse me, what is that?" Points at charger. Me. "Oh, it's a portable charger. It's like a power outlet for entitled parent cutting me off." "I know that. I meant, can we use it?" Me, wondering how "what's that" translates to "can we use it?" Sorry, but I don't let people use my things usually. Why do you need it?" I'm thinking that if their phones are dead, they can use my charger to get them up and running. Her phone was at 47%. Yeah, that's not gonna cut it. Me, "Sorry, your phone doesn't need charging. It has 47%. "Oh, come on. It isn't full. Give me the charger." She reaches for it, as does the kid, but I pull it away and stow it in my bag. Me, "Sorry, I need to go now." I quickly sip up the last drop of tea and head to the counter to pay. I see them following, so tell the worker, who I'm friends with, about them before I get there. She has also seen me with my charger. I leave just as they get to me, still clutching my bag, and head for home. I get home and realize that my charger isn't in my bag. I knew what had happened. They stole it when they came to the counter. I'm bummed, but have a smaller spare, so decided to go back to the cafe to see if I somehow left it. I arrive, and amazingly, entitled parent and entitled kid are sitting there using my charger out in the open. I calmly approach my friend and let her know, and she's in on it. Me, going up to entitled parent and entitled kid, who look really scared. "Oh, thank goodness, you found my charger. I knew I had left it here. Thank you so much." Entitled mom, "This is mine. Go away, weirdo." Me, realizing she isn't going down without a fight. "Oh, okay. I can prove it's mine." I call my friend over like a stranger and tell her the story. Me, "Is there anything wrong with this charger, miss?" Entitled mom, confused. "No, it's brand new. Got it today. Go away. I want to be compensated for this intrusion." Wow, she's dumb. Me, "The charger nearest the light doesn't work on mine. Can we try this one?" Entitled parent now tries to excuse herself to the toilet, realizing she's being found out. It fails, and she is forced to show that, indeed, the port doesn't work. Long story short, I get my charger back, and she is barred for a week, even though she apparently wasn't local, just on travels in the area, so probably thought she could grab and go with the charger. Me, 1, entitled parent and entitled kid, 0. Speaking of phones, which do you prefer, Apple or Android? Please let me know right now. My HOA complaint broke up an entitled mom's marriage. This happened a few years ago, but I still think about it. After being blessed with great neighbors over the years, I started taking it for granted. Then Luna, her 4 dogs, all the same breed, and family, 2 teens and a husband, moved in the house next door. It started off well enough. Luna was friendly and the kids and husband seemed nice, but she soon decided that the best place for her dogs to go potty was my backyard. I didn't agree, and after suffering in silence for a few weeks, I'm not very confrontational. I finally told her that my backyard wasn't her personal dog park. When they got home from work, they would let their dogs loose to go running in my backyard, to play and go potty. One day, I happened to catch them and came out on my patio to tell them to cut it out. The dogs turned around and started running towards me while barking aggressively. Fortunately, her husband called them off before the little ankle biters got to me. And it wasn't just the dog that liked to hang out in my backyard. Luna liked to walk around my backyard while talking on her phone. One of the things I like about my house is the privacy. It backs to the woods, so I don't have a lot of curtains on my back windows and doors. But since Luna liked walking around my yard, I was forced to curtail my habit of cleaning while not dressed. And it was creepy. Once, after it had snowed, I realized that someone had walked up to my back patio and had been peeping in my French doors. Not long after, someone left a gift of poo on my front porch welcome mat. Geez, I wonder who did that. But then, Luna seemed to want to repair our rather rocky relationship and asked me what time I got off work. We could do drinks and hang out. I thought, whatever. So I told her, but no get-together ever materialized. I realized later that she just wanted to know what time I got home from work. What she didn't know was that I sometimes worked at home. On one of those days, I caught her once again letting her dogs loose in my yard, so I took a photo and sent it to the HOA. I think she was also sneaking her dogs into my other neighbor's fenced backyard. The ramifications were swift. That complaint was the straw that broke the camel's back. The marriage was already on shaky ground, and the husband was tired of her and her dog hoarding. I only saw 4 dogs at a time, but there were more. I didn't notice because they all looked alike. The next thing I knew, she and the dogs had moved back to South America. The kids went to live with relatives/college, and the husband was acting like someone who won the lottery. He always seemed somewhat grumpy before, but after she left, he was smiling and friendly. Then he bought a Harley, got a girlfriend, and proceeded to rid the house of copious amounts of urine-stained carpets. He was eventually evicted from the house. Yes, they were renters, because owners were sick of the complaints and fines and decided to move back in. Luna apparently had a gift for upsetting the neighbors on my block. The weird thing is that there were a couple of vacant lots and a dog park less than a block away, but apparently her neighbors' yards were the best place to take her dogs. Do you have a dog? If so, what kind? Students pranked me. I had the last laugh. I spent about 10 years teaching high school humanities at a small private school. For my first 2 years, I didn't have a classroom, just a small office. I would bring what I needed for each class on a cart and go from room to room, depending on which teacher had a prep at any given time. This was incredibly inconvenient, and not being the most organized of teachers to begin with, made things difficult to keep track of. There were a group of 11th grade boys who decided to make things a little more difficult for me. They were good kids, we got along well. I coached several of them on the school soccer team, but they decided that since my office would often be empty, it was a great place to prank. It would never be anything too serious, things falling over when I opened the door, or things disappearing for a day and then turning up in a different place the next day. Nothing was ever damaged, and I could never prove who it was, even though I knew. My school had mandatory final exams in each academic course. I didn't really think they were necessary, so I would generally make them pretty easy with a lot of preparation. I would give out study sheets and play review games for a couple of weeks before the test, and there was no reason the students wouldn't do well on them. I had approval of admin to do this, as they weren't particularly fond of the final exam rule either. It was a school board policy. A few nights before the offending boys had their exam, I had a brainwave. I created a second exam. Gone were the multiple choice questions and obvious things from the review sheets. In their place came detailed questions about concepts that were briefly mentioned in class. Essay question after essay question. Ambiguous questions with no clear answers. Definitions of words that there was no way they knew. It took a couple of hours, but I laughed the whole time. When the test came, I had the special exams at the bottom of the pile and handed them out to each of the 4 or 5 boys. I told my vice principal what was happening, and he insisted on being present. I started the timer and watched as the boys flipped over their papers. It was all I could do to keep a straight face. Eyes went wide, heads were shaking, panic was setting in. especially as they saw all their classmates flying through their exams. One of the boys raised their hand. Sorry, no questions during the final. You should be prepared based on your study sheets. I let them go for about 5 or 10 minutes of terror before I gathered the fake tests and gave them the real ones. They all passed with flying colors and never pranked my office again. It was glorious. How dare you not offer vegetarian meals? I work at a small local pizza/Italian place. A few hours during the day, we offer a lunch buffet with pizza, pasta, salads, etc. It's immensely popular, and we're usually packed to capacity every lunch period. And honestly, the food is really good and has a good reputation in town. I come in contact with all kinds of jerks and weirdos at work, don't we all? But I really hate the ones who like to complain in order to get something free. So these two ladies in their 40s come in and stare at the menu for a while. We have counter service, so I greeted them kindly and told them to let me know when they were ready to order. They asked me how long it would take for a small veggie pizza to be ready. I told them about 15 minutes. One sister scoffs loudly. Ugh, we don't have time for that. I suggested that they try our buffet since we still had it. They inspect the buffet offerings, clearly not really interested in it because they complained about everything. Everything has meat in it. We can't eat anything here. We are vegetarians. One sister is literally yelling, so I nicely showed them all the meat-free options to help them out. I showed them the salad bar, pasta salad, cheese pizza, broccoli bites, cheese ravioli, spaghetti, etc. The mean sister yells at me. Did you not hear me? I said we're vegetarians, and this spaghetti sauce clearly has meat in it. I said, no, actually it's just a marinara tomato sauce, no meat at all. After all that hateful deliberation, they decided to eat the buffet. Okay, cool. Finally, we came to a decision. A little bit after, I start bussing tables in between customers. Mean sister starts yelling again, shouting for me across the dining room, snapping her fingers at me. Hey, miss, excuse me. I quickly walk over to their table. I ask if everything is okay. Mean sister tells me, not at all. This food is absolutely disgusting and inedible. I notice there's at least 4 or 5 empty plates on their table from where they've eaten, and she shoves them at me, and I had to reach over to prevent them from falling to the floor. I was about ready to snap at them, but somehow managed to say, I'm sorry to hear that, and she cuts me off and rudely demands a refund. I didn't even respond and walked away to find my manager. My manager has no patience for complaining customers and usually avoids refunds whenever possible. He refused to refund them since they finished off a few plates of each before saying they didn't like it. Eventually, they left in a huff. We have several vegetarian regulars who come in and usually get a lot of compliments on our options. Some people just have a, I'm going to start crap vibe and can't be pleased. Speaking of pizza, what's your favorite pizza place? Mine's definitely Pizza Hut. Please let me know. Entitled Mom invades the library. Here's our cast of not-so-lovable characters. We've got Entitled Mom, we've got me, and we've got Entitled Mom's kids. So I work at a public library, and this is my 3rd year working there. I love my job for the most part, and it's lots of fun because I get to work with books and all that fun stuff. But every once in a while, I just get a lot of really bad patrons coming in. Some of them are entitled, sure, but this entitled mom takes the cake for the worst. I know that I'm about to deal with a bad group as soon as I hear what sounds like a stampede of water buffalo coming down the stairs. I work in the basement section, joined by the sounds of screaming kids. Enter 7 kids, all filing in one by one. I thought they would never end. I try to reassure myself that I can do this, but boy, was I wrong. Entitled Mom comes to the desk and asks to get library cards for her 3 youngest, a trio of triplets. Easy enough. I give her the form and wait for her to come back with it filled out. One of her kids starts trying to rob me of all the decorations we have scattered around my area, which was exhausting by itself because it seemed like she had a new thing in her hand every 5 seconds, and obviously Entitled Mom wouldn't help because her kids were angels. Entitled Mom comes back and gives me the forms for her triplets, and I start to fill them out when I realize something is off. All 3 of the triplets have the exact same name. I tried asking her if this was correct, and she said, "Of course, Can't you read? Like, yes, I can read, but I was just trying to clarify, because naming 3 of your kids the same thing isn't really common. On top of that, she keeps referring to them by their middle names and expects me to magically know which one I'm referring to. Like, come on, lady, I don't know their middle names. Not my fault. I proceed to start transferring the information she filled out onto the computer system. After a minute or so, Entitled Mom is glaring at me. I wonder what is wrong, but keep working anyways. You're going too slow. You need to hurry up. Transferring information takes some time, especially when it's the same thing over and over. I'm going as fast as I can because I want her and her spawn to leave. I eventually get done and give her the triplets' cards. They go away from the desk for a few minutes, but I am not safe yet. All 7 kids suddenly run at the counter and put like 40 movies on the desk that they all want to check out. They are all trying to give me their library card at once. The other 4 kids already had ones apparently, and all are screaming at me. By this point, my body has already gone into survival mode. Entitled Mom is standing by while all of this is happening, not even bothering trying to control her kids. I check out all of the movies to them one by one, all while Entitled Mom is still glaring at me. She must think I have super speed or something because my body was in fight or flight mode and I was checking them out as fast as I could. The one from before that was trying to steal stuff comes behind the counter while I was distracted and noticed I had candy hidden behind the desk. For good kids, of course, which they were not. All 7 of them try to run behind the counter and I have to stop them from messing up everything. I give them the candy and they eventually leave the area behind the counter. Note that Entitled Mom still wasn't helping at all. Entitled Mom: thanks for your help, I guess. It wasn't very quick. Me: you're welcome. After this, I am finally free of the grasps of my librarian duties. My coworker walks in and I tell her my tale of woe. I am finally safe, but that was the most energy-draining experience of my professional life. Overall, this experience only lasted about 20 minutes, but it felt like eternity. I hope to never encounter them again. How to deal with entitled Richards. I've been in customer service for a very long time now. I have worked all over the place, but customer service was always in the background, and honestly, I don't mind it. It has taught me many lessons, from being a part-timer who gives no hoots to the manager and having the fun of managing younger employees in a retail environment. I can keep my cool, and occasionally I have even put my foot down a few times. I'm not very confrontational, so for me, that's a big deal. I have also learned to be pretty diplomatic and can diffuse many situations. This story is of when I was managing a small, locally owned store that sold media, among other things. This one customer, who I would refer to as Richard, was one of the unfortunate regulars that I could tell many stories about. But today, I'll tell one of my favorites that makes me laugh to this very day. Cast: we've got jerk regular, Richard. We've got coworker, and we've got me, the one who the Karens demand to see. Richard is a grumpy oldish man, around 55 to 60. He's a bit stocky, owns his own business, and yet very, very cheap. Every time Richard comes in, he always haggles for something. He knows that I'm the manager, so he knows who to come to if he wants something done for him without the answer being, sorry, I can't do that. Maybe ask my manager? Richard picks up a TV show DVD set that's $14.99. He hums and haws, scoffs and sighs, complaining that it's just so expensive. I just brush it off, as Richard being Richard, hoping I'd knock off some of that price because he feels he is entitled to special treatment. Richard:
Well, $14.99 is pretty expensive.
Me: I'm sorry you feel that way. My coworker sees this and notices his least favorite customer has entered our store and keeps a good distance. Richard:
Well, can you do anything about the price?
Me: sorry, Richard, but I can't change the prices.
It's too expensive. I shouldn't have to pay this much.
Me: maybe in time the price will drop, and if we see it in again, you can buy it then. Sadly, that's all I can do. Richard continues to mull it over, hoping that I'd fall for his tactic. I don't, obviously. I just let him be for a moment, getting back to work behind the counter, which is still close to him. Richard:
It's $14.99?
He says this in a way that implies only $14.99, which does not include the tax. I catch what he's implying and respond. Me: $14.99 plus tax, yes. Richard scoffs.
Oh, tax? No way.
Me. Yes, tax would be added. Such an awkward conversation to have when we both know he's trying to play me.
I shouldn't have to pay the tax.
Me. Everybody pays the tax, Richard. Unless you have a government-issued card telling me otherwise, you are required to pay the tax if you want to buy that.
No, I shouldn't have to pay the tax.
Everybody pays taxes, Richard. This is a normal thing. If you feel it's too expensive, you don't have to buy it. This goes back and forth for a few minutes. Finally, after some more humming and hawing, he says,
Fine, I'll take it.
I say great and start to ring him through. He even scoffs when the tax has been added, and I tell him his grand total. My coworker at this point walks over to make sure everything's running smoothly, pretending there's work to do by the register counter, just in case. Richard reluctantly pays for the item and brings out his stamp card. Now, we have a pretty typical stamp card. Whenever you spend a certain amount per item, any items over that amount get you a stamp. For example, if you buy 2 items that were $10 each, you'd qualify for 2 stamps. He bought 1 item that was over the mark and was entitled to 1 stamp. I stamped his card and handed it back to him. This is when he applies his typical pressure to get more stamps.
I should get more stamps because I paid the tax.
Me, still maintaining a chipper attitude. As I said, Richard, everyone pays the tax. It doesn't qualify you for a free stamp.
I should get extra stamps.
He then taps the stamp card on the counter and stares me dead in the eyes with his experienced sour face like he had connections with the mob or something. He's trying to intimidate me. As I mentioned, he's a bit stocky, and I'm a girl who looks like an easy mark. However, this isn't my first rodeo. I keep eye contact and say, sorry, I can't, with a smile to keep it friendly. He taps again. Me. Nope, sorry. Finally, I give in. I reveal a huge smile, and in the most exaggerated friendly tone, I tell him, you know what I can give you? A bag. That's just plain free. I say that last part a bit slower to make it sound more special. Instantly, my coworker almost loses it, but stops himself. He's standing right beside me and has to turn around for a moment to compose himself. Richard doesn't even know how to handle what just happened. He just looks at me, dumbfounded. I'm still smiling, still offering the bag. He won. He got something for free. How could he argue back? It was the most subtle, malicious compliance he had probably received from someone in customer service. He took his stamp card, his DVD set, and his bag and left without saying a word. Good old Richard. I wonder what he's up to these days. Entitled Karen tries to claim my phone as her own. So I was sitting at KFC playing on my phone when innocent kid saw and asked what game I was playing. Hey mister, what game is that? Me. Oh, this? It's called Jetpack Joyride. You basically have to try to go the furthest without touching lasers or zappers. Oh, cool. And proceeds to go back to his mom. Mind you, I'm sitting at my table waiting for my food to be called. Entitled Karen. Excuse me, can my son play on your phone? You see, I don't have that game installed and can't find it. Apparently, she doesn't know what Google Play Store is. Me. Sorry, ma'am, but I can't, as I just recently got this phone and don't want anything bad happening to it. But the app is on the Play Store if you want to download it. Karen. I have no data on my phone. She said this with a slight smirk. And my son really wants to play it. Me. Look, I would if I could, but I also need my phone as I'm waiting on a very important phone call, which should be happening any time now. This was a lie. I just wanted her to go away and leave me alone. Karen. Obviously you're not, as I can clearly see you are playing a game. Me. Yeah, I'm playing a game to pass the time. Doesn't stop me from answering calls. She huffed and stormed off. I heard my order being called and decided to go collect it from the counter. Me being me, I decided to leave my phone on the table, and boy, shouldn't have done that. When I got back, it was gone, and I immediately looked at Entitled Karen's table, and my phone was in her hand as she was giving it to her kid. I go to her table. Me. Excuse me, what the heck do you think you're doing taking my phone? I told you my son wanted to play your game, and what my kid wants, my kid gets. Me. You have till the count of 3 to hand it back before I get the police involved. Innocent kid goes to give me the phone back when Entitled Karen takes it out of his hand. I told you my son wanted to play on your game. I start to count with my hand out. Karen calls for someone over. Employee. What seems to be the problem, ma'am? This guy is trying to steal my phone. Employee looks at me. Is this true, sir? Me. If it was true, do you think I would still be standing here? The truth is that this lady took my phone off my table when I went to grab my order and will not give it back. You liar! Me. You see this watch? I point to my watch. It's a smartwatch, and the beauty of this thing is, it has a Find My Phone feature, which when pressed, will make my phone make an audible noise. Karen starts to lose her color a little bit and thinks I'm bluffing. Me to entitled mom. Shall I show you? Karen. I just realized I'm late for an appointment. No, you sit right there. I tap my watch a few times, and to her amazement, my phone actually went off in her hand. Sorry, that's my notification sound. She stuttered here. I proceeded to press my watch again, to which the phone went off again. Employee to Karen. Ma'am, I suggest you give this guy his phone back. Everyone is staring at this point, with my anxiety skyrocketing. I hate being the center of attention. Karen. He must have hacked my phone with his watch. I managed to snatch the phone back and looked at employee. Here's how I can prove this is my phone. There are 3 ways of unlocking it. Facial recognition, biometrics, fingerprint, and the good old password. I unlocked all 3 times, and to add salt to injury, I proceeded to show my ID to employee, saying, keep a note of this, and proceeded to check my gallery whilst she was looking at my ID. Me. I always keep a picture of my ID on my phone just in case it gets stolen and I have no chance of getting it back. I wipe it clean. Employee checks the picture. Employee. Want me to call security? Me. Yes, please. I get my phone back and allowed the kid to play a game or two whilst his mom was ranting and raving about how they should believe her, and I was allowed to steal her phone. Turns out, from what the kid was telling me, this isn't the first time this has happened. My meal was refunded and basically on the house because of all the trouble. How I love Karens. And shoutouts to our Regenerals of the day, Jeanette, Sonia, and Sora. Become tomorrow's Regenerals by leaving as many rees as you can in the comments below, and please listen to my playlist every night when you go to sleep.